When we get to halftime, we will be talking about something that's probably bigger than any of the emotions just surrounding this game, and that is the return of Bob Knight.
When you first, you're the old as hell.
Wow. That's the, whoa. Don't everybody jump in there and come at me because I'm the
Woody, what's the part?
Not only are you the oldest, we know you're the favorite.
Oh, boy. Everybody taking shots. Oh, you must be trying to curry favor because you got on the jacket we got that day, by the way.
I was just trying to show respect, that's all.
Yeah. All right, you show respect.
Isiah Thomas.
As for the day, I thought it was terrific. The story kind of starts out. I think the truth is, Randy ought to start the story. He's part of the group they were going to initially recognize.
Randy Wittman.
You know, this 80-team reunion came up. We got emails on it, and it was about 3 weeks, I think, before. And you know, they're asking you, are you going to come back RSVP? And I was, basically sitting here with my wife after having 4 or 5 beers. And, I just said, I like going back and seeing everybody. And we crossed paths, but I said, it's just not worth it anymore if, Coach isn't going to be there. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to call him. All he can do is tell me no. And I had talked to him maybe the week of him moving back to Bloomington. And so I hadn't talked to him since then. And so I just kind of, to break the ice, I just said, Coach, how's living back in Bloomington? And he just went on this rant of how great it was. It's the greatest thing he and Karen had ever done. His doctors are back there. He's got people he can go to dinner with or breakfast. He says it's been great. We couldn't be more pleased. And, this was kind of the opening that I needed. I just said, Coach, you know why it's so great that you're enjoying being back there? And he goes, no, why? I said, because that's where you belong. You belong in Indiana. You belong in Bloomington. And, he kind of paused, and I just said, Coach, I said, listen, nobody likes to be fired. I said, hell, I've been fired 4 times. It's not fun, and it wasn't fun for you when Indiana did what they did. And I said, a lot of water's gone under the bridge. I said, none of those people are there or involved. I said, if we don't let things go, are we going to really enjoy our lives? And I said, I think it's time. I said, you don't have an understanding, I think, how much the people of Indiana love you. And I think you need to give them one more chance to go out on that floor and let them show you how much they love you. And I stopped talking, and there was no response. And so I'm thinking, well, he hung up on and he then said, well, Randy, he goes, is everybody on that 80 team going to be there? And I had yet to talk to anybody. I hadn't talked to Woody, or I hadn't talked to Isaiah, I hadn't talked to Kitchell. I just got the email from the university about the reunion. And I said, absolutely. I said, I've talked to everybody, Coach, and they're all going to be there. And he just kind of paused, and he said, well, if you guys are all going to come back, then I'll come back. Well, it's not any longer the 80 team. We got to get a hold of everybody that's played for him.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Woody, what were your thoughts when you were this whole thing was coming together?
Well, I was excited as hell. Again, it was long overdue, and it was something that for years, I think a lot of us was trying to make it happen once he had left IU to come back. And I recall 12, 13 years ago, you didn't make the trip with us, Quinn, when Scott and I flew up to Lubbock to see Coach, to try to get him to come back. And it just wasn't that time for it. And I thought, after speaking with Randy when he told me that he thought he would come back, it could not have been a more perfect time, I think, because it was just overdue, man. I mean, the fans, the IU fans, and just all the guys that played for him. You know, I mean, Indiana basketball is Bob Knight. Make no mistake about it. And all the players that have played and that had graduated from that university, man. I mean, it just couldn't have been a better time. I mean, I had a wonderful time. My wife came back, Terry and I, we hadn't been back in years. And be able to come back and walk through Assembly Hall and watch that man walk out on that floor was phenomenal.
Big props to the students that day. They handled the situation because, they were all young men and women, in the audience.
And the moment that the fans have been waiting for, about to take place.
They didn't get a chance to see the great things that he did at the university and the great teams that he had there. But big respect to them for rising to the moment on that day and letting it be known how we feel about Coach Knight in Indiana.
Bob Knight is returning.
Isiah, I know at one point you tried to convince, one of many points, but there was one where I think you were pretty pointed with Coach Knight about coming back.
I just got up and left nerve, and I called him up, picked up the phone, and, I was talking to him about, trying to, come back to Indiana and everything. And I remember saying to him, I said, Coach, when we think of basketball and great institutions, when you think of Georgetown, you think of John Thompson. When you think of Temple, you think of John Chaney. When you think of, North Carolina basketball, you think of Dean Smith. No matter how many championships other people have won there, you think of Dean Smith. And when you think of UCLA basketball, you think of John Wood. And when you think of Indiana basketball, the only thing that comes to people's mind is you, Coach Knight. And I guess I didn't catch him in the right mood that Randy caught him in. Because it was about 8 in the morning, and all I could do was this. And I held the phone up. And my wife walks into the room, and she goes, "Who is that?" I go, "It's Coach Knight." And she turns around, she goes, "Okay."
She knew to leave.
She knew to leave it alone.
So, and I really mean that, though. Having him back at Indiana, and you can see from all of us here, it's like what we all went to Indiana for. It's a great institution, but we all went to school there because of Coach Knight, what he represented, what he told our parents that he would be able to do for us as young men. And he delivered on all those things. He made us all champions, and we all graduated from college. And those were the only two things that he promised.
As a kid growing up in Indianapolis, right down the road, there was no question in my mind that I wanted to play for that man. And then when he came into my home, it was no brainer. I didn't even go visit any other schools.
It was a fight when he came into my home.
Hey, Isiah, hey, let it go, because it was almost a fight when it came to my home too.
The reason I'm laughing so hard, I was there when the fight occurred. Oh, dude. But
Quinn,
your mother knew better. Yeah, thank goodness I missed you.
What is today about? This is not about basketball. This is about family.
Coach Knight had said something to me in college that I didn't get, which was a lot of stuff I didn't get. He said, what we did for the state of Indiana, you'll never know, because these people will never forget it. And that kind of stuck with me. And that's kind of what I thought about when we walked out on the floor. We were all able to walk out with Coach on the floor. I thought it was important that they not forget that they had seen one of a kind in a coach, as you guys have already expressed, and that there needed to be some closure to that. And I think one of the things that's interesting in this, and Isiah, you may do it all the time, I'm not sure with Woody or Witt does, there was this chasm such that guys were concerned about supporting Indiana University and not supporting Coach Knight, and they wouldn't necessarily rep it, as kids say today. They wouldn't wear colors or whatever. And I think part of what happened there was it allowed the entire Knight family to come together. That was the most meaningful thing that had happened as far as the team and the Coach Knight, if you will, tree and family coming together. That, to me, is what I'll remember more than anything else.
What we saw when he walked out there, I mean, he had tears in his eyes. I mean, it meant a lot to him. And I think he's got a little bit of a peace of mind of, you know, he buried the hatchet. He did a lot of great things there.
Defense! Yes, defense! 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 Defense!
You know what? I'll remember that day a lot more than even the day we won the national championship.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was more touched. People always ask me, I'll tell you, I can't put it into words what it meant to me to see that man walk out there and the emotions that came out of it. You know, and the last thing I would just share is, you know, Archie Miller had him come in and speak to the team. And, I didn't know he was in that closed the locker room at the practice facility there, and all the players were in there. And Coach kind of, Archie says, "Hey, Coach, do you mind saying a few words to the team?" And he froze a little bit, and I'm thinking, is he going to, be able to do this? And he had, I don't know if you guys remember, he had that New York Fire Department hat that he wore in the thing, and he had that on in the locker room. And he took that thing off and threw it into the corner, and he went on this coach thing like it was back when I was there.
Old days.
And he grabbed a young Davis kid around the neck. He was sitting right there by Coach, and he looked at that kid, and he just said, "Hey, you just need to go out there and rebound. Don't worry about anything." And he went down the line, and it was back to Coach Knight being the coach. And then the last thing he said to him, he goes, "And by the way, you guys know who you're playing today." And the kid's eyes got real big. "You're playing Purdue, and we don't lose to Purdue." And he walked.
That moment to me was the capstone moment on top of the pyramid. And if you think of the great pyramids over in Egypt and the capstone that goes on top, Coach Knight, that day represented the capstone, and it shines brightly into the sky.